Hey there, are you new Mirage Mate Season 5? No? Well, you might want to counter him, so keep watching the video. Anyway, I'm sure you don't want to be a detriment to your team. I'm sure you don't want to be this guy. Oh my god, I felt him. No! Yo! Nobody told me that this was off the map. Yo! Instead, I'm sure you want to be this guy, winning his 1v1 fights, because due to the rework, Mirage is a superior legend in 1v1 fights even to Gibby. You want to be styling on boys with your wingman. You want to be going up against other Mirages, hitting them with your wits, winning the fight against new and old ones alike. Well, stay tuned because this is the guide for you. Alright, we already know the basics so far. When you throw down your decoy and an enemy shoots it, it reveals the location. This is the basic for any Mirage to learn. It's really good for both scouting as well as body blocking, and we're going to get into in-depth situations on how to use it as well. To understand the fundamentals of bamboozling, you need to understand that you need to throw your decoy in a direction where you want the enemy to look, and not where you're going to be. You want to throw off the scent of where you might be by throwing it to where you would have gone. Ideally, you want to throw your decoy behind rocks, from out of cover into the line of cover for the enemies, drawing their aim and wasting their bullets, allowing you to pop up from behind them or another angle and get the kill. You also want to throw your decoy through hallways and corridors. That way, you're able to push effectively through such tight and narrow spaces. Again, you're going to see throwing it behind cover, such as supply bins, and into the enemy's line of sight, drawing their direction and ammo. Also, make sure to throw your decoy through doorways because you never know who could be pre-frying at you and lurking in the corner. Tip number 2, peeking. The basics of peeking come down to throwing your decoy to the left of you and using your weapons to shoot at the enemy. And if they have a single target weapon such as the wingman or peacekeeper or even a sniper, you're able to have a good exchange when it hits the decoy. It also allows them to reveal the location, whether or not you know where they are. It really comes in handy when you're in a firefight, so that way, instead of the peacekeeper hitting you in the dome, it hits your decoy, absorbing what could have been about 144 damage. The advanced levels of peeking come down to this: throwing down your decoy, looking at a left or right degree angle, controlling it and looking back. This is really great when you're peeking, and I have to reiterate, this is very advanced. When you throw it down and you look, you have to understand where the decoy is going to move, and the decoy moves straight, but to you, you'll be moving straight towards your peripheral vision, but it'll be moving to the left side from what you could see from what the decoy is seeing, if that even made any sense. This is a better example of it, where I'm moving forward and the decoy is also moving forward. Another way of using this is when you're moving forward out of the line of cover and into line of cover, you release your decoy, allowing him to run forward. This is another example of me using it, however on the farther scale on some W's. When using Mirage, you have to think three-dimensionally. Simply having your decoy run in front of you has a lot of implications, and you have to use your wits to understand that. Another way of using it in this advanced mechanic guide of peeking and body blocking is using it to throw through hallways and doors inside buildings and mounting those buildings, running through it and making sure and using it as a scouting tool to see if there's anybody lurking in the buildings, or even if there's any enemy traps such as Watson or Caustics. In this example right here, you're gonna see that although I threw my decoy down and I'm able to find people on top of the building, there were also people beneath the building, and I would have been able to find out that sooner, or at least cut them off guard with my decoy if my decoy hadn't gotten stuck there. So make sure to pay attention when you do this. Tip number 3, Miscellaneous. These are some quick fire tips of using Mirage that you're gonna understand when you play him a lot more. First of all, he has a passive where he goes invisible. You're going to want to use this a lot more often than before, where you get to revive people invisibly. It comes in clutch a lot more than you think. You can also use your decoy when you're looting, so that's another way of body blocking. On console, it comes in handy because the decoy doesn't really move, so it's okay if you don't move when you use this. Another interesting tip that you can use to your advantage is throwing your decoy into Caustic's gas. It works very well because Cost is becoming quite the meta lately, and by doing this, it reveals his location, whether or not he's close to you or far away from you, because even if he is far away from you, you can use this to scout and track him down. You thought we were done? Nope. When you're indoors and trying to cover all angles, make sure to throw your decoy at doors. It doesn't stop them from coming in. However, it makes them think that people are there, and it doesn't get destroyed when people open the door. So they'll try and shoot the decoy that is behind the door. Also, when you're using finishers, make sure to have a good one, whether it be pound and barrel or strike a pose, because in this scenario, I'm able to control my decoy before I go into the finisher, making that there are 4 Mirages doing a finisher right now, which bamboozles a Gibby. So make sure you have a good finisher. This also brings us into tip number 4. Ultimate usage. Can we get F's in the chat for the old ultimate, man? Good times, guys. Good times. OG Mirages, remember this time. Not that I hate the new ultimate. The new ultimate is great. It's just that, you know, sometimes when you're used to something, it's hard to change. But I've adapted with the new one, and I like the new one because it's a lot more fun. Too bad you cannot use it in the same way that you used the old one. So it was a little bit of a learning curve in the first 2 weeks, I'd say, for a lot of us Mirages, but I'm sure we all got past it, right, guys? Alright, guys. This was just a sick play that I had at the time with the old ultimate. It was literally amazing for me, but now you have to use someone like Rick to do something like that.
Say who's the best. Say who's the greatest. Who's the greatest?
Anyway, to start off, using the old ultimate, you need to use this one strategy that I like to use, which is called the ring around the rosy crisscross. So what you want to do is to jump around, confuse the enemy a lot more, get inside the decoy, and then cross back again with the decoys, confusing them on your location. Another tip is the ring around the rosy method, which is just running around in circles with the decoy. That way, from the perspective of the enemy, you're running around with them, so they'll try and focus one at a time. It's also a great method of just scaring people. Just seeing the sheer number of decoys is enough to scare any weaker legend. It's also very important that when you use this ultimate, to make sure that you have the greatest survivability, you want to change up the direction once you use it. So if you're moving in one direction, what you see here, and I move around into another direction, the Revenant actually shoots a different decoy that's in front of him because he thought that was me, because I moved to the left. However, I switched my location while I was in Viz. This is another quick tip that doesn't have to do with the ultimate, but it's very important to know. It's just that if you throw down your decoy behind you and then you turn around and activate the decoy will run in the opposite direction, obviously. However, it's really good for scouting on area if you don't want to search the whole place. Final tip: counter. Ways of countering Mirage include using a Revenant. Revenant is a very interesting legend because whenever a character gets buffed, Revenant somehow gets a slight buff, because if that legend becomes more used or becomes more ability reliant, it allows it so that way Revenant gets the upper hand. Another way of counting Mirage is to spray into all of his decoys when he initially uses it. This cuts down majority of the decoys, if not all of them, allowing you to find out exactly where the Mirage actually went. This is the best way of finding out which Mirage is the real Mirage, and this is very important. So the tactical Mirage will always have the backup gun as well as the primary gun in his hands. However, the ultimate decoys will only have the primary weapon in their hand. You'll see on their back that they do not have the secondary weapon. So if you engage with the ultimate and you have a secondary weapon, you're able to find out which Mirage is the real Mirage in that scenario. So it's up to Mirages to, one day when people start figuring this out, when it's common knowledge, they will need to start figuring out whether or not they want to have only one gun at a time. That way it stops it from figuring out who it is immediately. Another tip to use in conjunction with the first and second tip is to listen out for the footsteps. The footsteps of the ultimate decoys are smaller, if not non-existent, compared to the original decoy and the tactical decoy. That's why people throw down both at the same time. Another tip is to, yes, use what you learned in the first tip, which is to throw it around corners and look around corners whenever you see a Mirage in another corner. Hey man, if you guys like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll throw down more Mirage videos. If you didn't know, I'm Mirage main, and
I got you, dude.
subscribe.
I got you, dude. Go. Hey, bro, I got you.